County Clare on the west coast of Ireland. It's a quiet, underpopulated kind of place. You're more likely to see cows than people here. But every September weekend, one small town becomes a magnet for would-be lovers. Lisdoonvarna usually has a population of a few hundred, but during its Matchmaking Festival, it swells to several thousand. Single men and women come from all over Ireland and further to find a partner or have a fine time trying. Lisdoonvarna's Matchmaking Festival has been going for more than 100 years. It started as a post-harvest gathering for Ireland's landed gentry to marry off their children. Today, it's billed as Europe's biggest singles event. At its heart is Willie Daley, third-generation traditional Irish matchmaker. In the 40 years Willie's been introducing people, Irish society has been transformed. But in the matter of love, some things never change. We'll follow the fortunes of three bachelors pinning their hopes on Willie. They'll show us glimpses of Ireland past and present, seen through one of its most colourful and famous festivals. On the hills overlooking the Atlantic, Willie Daley's home. His family has farmed and raised horses on this land for as long as anyone can remember. Willie trades horses and runs a stable offering horseback treks to tourists. But like his father and grandfather before him, Willie's best known as a matchmaker. Matchmaking is about helping people, but for Willie, it's also about holding on to the old Ireland he grew up with.
For me, I suppose part of it is that I like my neighbours a lot now. The Irish people who live here are very nice. And if they don't marry, their properties are sold out and there's foreigners coming in buying it and stuff, you know. Not as nice a people, you know. They're different at least anyway. There's an awful amount of people who in the past and even in the present still need help to settle down and get married. They need assistance. And if you can succeed in finding a partner for them, that's what I consider being a good matchmaker myself.
Though his own marriage ended a few years ago, Willie retains his faith in the power of love.
I would feel that I would be quite a romantic person myself. You know, all my life has been a little bit about romance and love. When I make a match, that I would like that there'd be a nice bit of love involved and maybe kind of a nearly instant magic, you know. No, Pat, do you ever go to the Ploughing Championships? This girl is playing the piano on the first day of it at the opening. She's opening the Ploughing Championships now. She's a teacher. And she's just a very, very modest person, but a lovely, lovely girl, to be fair about it now.
All Willie's clients end up in his 100-year-old matchmaking book, first used by his grandfather. It contains reminders of how matchmaking used to be. Willie's earliest matchmaking memory goes back around 50 years, when he was 11 years old. He overheard his father negotiating a dowry between the families of a young woman and her prospective husband. She was 26, he was 64.
For that money, then she would have her representative, like the uncle and maybe a neighbour, walk the husband-to-be's land to see was it good land, what was the house like, what was the sheds like. And depending on how good everything was would be the size of the dowry. Now, mainly the dowries would come from America, because Irish people wouldn't have money. They called her in and they said, they came out and they said, we've discussed the details, and will you marry him? She says, I don't give a straw, she says. Meaning she didn't give a damn. Which she did marry him. Now, they had 6 children. He lived to be a very big age, and she lived to be a very good age. Like, they were quite happy now. She was a very, very jolly person. So that was my first witness of a match being made.